Nope, I had not either. And then, so today, after reading this late last night with Ross Dellinger and then doing a little bit of due diligence earlier today, spoke with an administrator, a part of the Big 12, and this is the tweet I put up a little bit afternoon today. You're not going to beat Big 10 or SEC in revenue arms race playing their game. You must have someone who has vision, is a big thinker, a deal maker, and he has the it factor. And then on top of that, some of the bullet points to that particular discussion as well. And this is nothing really different than what we've discussed. They have to look at some ways different outside the box, creativity, and not just saying it. Yes, new ways to generate revenue. We have discussed that in a ton of different ways. Big thinker, deal maker based on sponsorship deals. This is from Yormark, not from him, but about him. He initially did the Sprint NASCAR Cup Series for $750 million to take Barclays Center, turned it into a college basketball place, not just for the Brooklyn Nets, and in fact took some basketball games out of Madison Square Garden. That's hard to do, and you're not going to compete again and keep that race with the SEC or Big Ten, maybe not even compete, but stay close enough without some sort of thinking outside the box, and this guy's got it factor. That's from somebody. We'll hear from Mac Rhoades again at 4:20 today. Your thoughts, both of you guys, on this? Is definitely from not within the college athletics realm.
No, but he's worked in sports before, and he's now worked in entertainment, and he's from Roc Nation, which is Jay-Z's company, which I got to tell you, if there was a conference that was going to hire somebody away from Roc Nation, I would not have pegged the Big 12 to be it, just based on everything they've done in their past. But I like it. It's an outside-the-box hire, and again, I don't know anything about Brett Yormark to be able to sit down and say, like, well, listen, he's going to out-college commissioner every other college commissioner. I don't know that, but it falls in line with, what the Pac-12 did with Kliavkov and getting somebody who has to think about things in a different manner. And look, the Big Ten and the SEC, like your source said there, can continue playing their game and, kind of putting their conference commissioners in out of the farm system, so to speak, because everything they've already set up the game to work for them. So the other conferences really do have to get creative if they want to do something different, especially ones like the Pac-12 who, much to the Big 12's chagrin, don't look like one of the worst run conferences, even though they had been before George Kliavkov, and the Big 12, which, is at crisis points at several times throughout its history. So having somebody who's outside the box, I think, is great.
I don't know what to think about it, honestly. I mean, because I don't know anything about the guy. Yay. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I really don't know. Like, I don't know much about him. I know what I've read, and I know that he's been successful in what he's done. But in terms of, like, he's the new Big 12 commissioner, like, okay, yeah, we'll see. I certainly like it more than, going the retread route of an Oliver Luck, because that would have just taken you right into the same space you've basically always been in. And wouldn't have brought you any more respect or any really brand new ideas or anything that you really are in need of. So I like that they went completely outside of the box, but it's so outside of the box in a way that I really don't know what to make of him or what the future is. But I'm excited by that because it's not entirely predictable and it's not some retread name. So I look forward to hearing what Mac Rhoades has to say. I look forward to hearing from the new commissioner at Big 12 Media Days. I would assume that we'll hear from him there. And I just look forward to learning more about it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm excited that they've made the hire. I'm excited about the possibilities. I'm excited that it is some new blood because that's what they are certainly in need of. But in terms of, like, yay or nay, I don't know because I don't know enough. Yeah.
We don't know. I'd never heard of him. I got to be honest with you. I'd very rarely ever heard of Matt Rule before it was announced that he was the head coach. Only the fact that he happened to be the coach at Temple was on the rise the year that Baylor took him and brought him into Waco. But what I think more important than the name is his resume and what he has done. He's brokered and has been a part of landmark type deals. $750 million Sprint was Nextel initially, Sprint, and then NASCAR. I think somebody else, Xfinity now runs that particular sponsorship. The Barclays Center, which he has now turned that into a college basketball type haven as well at times. And the fact that I think anytime you could come out of Roc Nation or anything as part of the not even new blood, but the blood that now is different and it's successful, He's learned from that. But as far as who he is, what he knows, does he know much about college athletics? Do you really need to know too much about college athletics anymore as a CEO? Sure you do, but maybe not the old school. You have to have been an athletic director for 25 years and then a part of this for 25 years. And to me, this means that everyone's on board. And all of the candidates, none of the three, according to Ross Dellinger last night, none of them really were a part of the college football landscape or college athletics landscape. So it seems to me that the Big 12 said, this is who we need, which we've discussed in many ways. It doesn't have to be someone attached to athletics. We can make that something that we deal with later.
I would think that one of the prompts crazy era of college athletics that we've had the last couple of years was someone who could navigate the NCAA and kind of deal with all that. Well, since the NCAA is falling apart right before our eyes, they need somebody who thinks about college athletics in the modern scope that they are. So having somebody who came out of college athletics might have been hard because even if there were somebody who was forward thinking, they're still maybe stuck in the mud a little bit on certain things. So, yeah, I mean, I can see their look for someone who is outside that world because that world, as we know it, is completely over. So, might as well start fresh in that regard if it's a qualification you need.
I guess for me, the fresh part, I definitely agree with. I saw somebody as an article talking about, if it was up to me, I would have gone with Shane Lyons of West Virginia, and there's others like the Oliver Luck thing, but that would have been so ho-hum. I mean, it really would have been. I think we all respect Oliver Luck, but that would have been kind of ho-hum. I mean, as familiar as it was. Shane Lyons, I mean, maybe he would have been great, but I mean, what the Big 12's been doing so far hasn't been working. I mean, the way that they'd want it to work. All these moves, kumbaya and all this, and two teams leave. When everything seems like it was all set up. And it's been constant dysfunction for the most part for this conference, so they needed to swing big, I feel like. And what's the risk? The risk is you have another Texas OU situation, but you're kind of been teetering on that the entire time anyway, so why not just swing for the hell of it and say, you know what? We're going for the grand slam rather than the bunt or the single, and we're just going to say, screw it. This either works or it doesn't, and if it does, then we're going to establish ourselves as the number 3 conference, and there's going to be no bones about it. And if it doesn't work, then how different are we from where we are to begin with? I mean, in terms of stability and security and all of those things, because they're not on the safest ground for starters. This isn't like you're hiring a guy who's coming in and he knows for a fact that everything's good to go pretty much no matter what, as long as he's around. It's a conference that you don't know what the hell around the corner is coming, I mean, quite frankly. So, it's interesting that the part to me is just it doesn't seem like a fit because all the stuff about TV deals and Barclays and all that, but there is nothing about the Big 12 to me that makes me think of Barclays Center. There's nothing about Roc Nation that makes me think of the Big 12, quite frankly. It's a Midwest, Southern, it's not the big flashy entertainment. And when I think of Roc Nation, I think of New York City. I think of Barclays. I think of Jay-Z, I think, and I don't think of any of those things when I think of the Big 12. So it's kind of like two different kind of brands.
To me, then maybe that does make sense.
Well, that's what I was getting to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's why I think that it's, interesting in that regard is that it's so completely different from just the way that I view the Big 12, and I'm sure a lot of other people do, is just sort of the good old Midwest, Big 12 conference that's just, I don't know, kind of there. They're sort of in need of an identity, in many ways, and they know that. And so to hire this guy when they know that screams to me that, yeah, they're undergoing a pretty big identity change somehow or another.
He's been named 3 times 40 under 40 list by Sports Business Journal, selected twice to the 40 under 40 list by Crane's New York Business for a guy who's up and coming when it comes to business. In entertainment business. Well, college football really is an entertainment business.
Yeah, it is. And I think if that's what you're going for, if the Big 12 was a guy right now, he would shop at Old Navy and he'd have really comfortable, sensible New Balances.
Yeah.
What they need the Big 12 to be is somebody, who wears Yeezys. I mean, that's what they needed to be because the world's changing. Right now, they don't need sensible. They need something different, They need something that's going to be big and shoot big because and parts of this because of who the membership was, not only with Texas and Oklahoma, but with Nebraska and Missouri and A&M and Colorado on the back. They were a conference that at their history kind of still shot to the middle. Like, they were fine to, like, as long as we're here.
What happened is they were a part of the lead pack at a horse race, and eventually they're the ones, when you make the turn, that everyone passed them by over time. And then they were lagging behind, and the SEC and the Big Ten just roar to have everybody like their secretariat or whoever. And now the Big 12 is. What will it hurt?
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned that. What would it hurt? I don't know how much he'll be involved, and this is not. And I don't mean to be criticism. I don't know how much he will be involved in the day-to-day football operations, and I don't know how much of that role will be his. But that's why you have other people within your entire business of the Big 12. You have Ed Stewart, among others, who are a part of, and maybe the football operations. But that's probably not fair to Brett Yormark for me to say that, because I'm sure he's a sports fan. Maybe we just don't know how much. But as far as a CEO running the business, getting ways to earn extra revenue streams, signing deals outside the box, he does seem to check those boxes. And we'll have Mack Rhoades, who can't probably talk about him, but can talk about the role that the new Big 12 commissioner will have.
Well, I'm pretty positive he's a sports fan, given his work with Barclays and the Nets and all that. But, I mean, how much does he know about Ames, Iowa? Or, well,
how much does Ames, Iowa know about him?
Well, no, I know that, but he's the one in charge, not Ames, Iowa. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter what they know about him. It matters what he knows. He's the one that's going to be making the decisions, and he's the one that's going to be guiding the conference. So,
but he does work for Ames, Iowa, too.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, like, that's what I'm getting back to, is the Big 12 is I don't relate them to Roc Nation and Barclays and NYC and all these things. It's a lot flashier. It's a lot shinier. It's a lot fresher, and that's things that the Big 12 needs.
Yep.
How does he bring that vision, and does he understand that it's not all glitz and glamour in the Big 12? Like, how does he, as I'm just saying, it's two different kind of just viewpoints. The Big 12 stale, sort of no flash, get no respect from the media no matter what they do. Just, it doesn't matter what they do unless it's Oklahoma or Texas. No one cares about the rest of the conference. And I don't know how to really explain it. Ames, Iowa doesn't know much about him, but I don't know. Ames, Iowa is not the one making the call on a lot of things. I'm just saying, how much does he know about Baylor and private schools and Waco, Texas, and all of that? He knows about New York City and Brooklyn. Great. But that's not the market that he's playing to with the teams that are in the Big 12 right now. That's what I'm getting at.
For Paula, and this